PIPCAST episode 27 has begun. It is me, Caedo Genesis, and my co-host here.
BADCompanySarge.
Yes. And welcome to this whatever podcast thing where we talk about Fallout and gaming and all that other kind of stuff. And we have some cool things to talk about today because it's a brand new year. We've had one episode, since the year started, but now news is actually happening. So we have stuff to talk about, and also in our own lives too. So, firstly, I want to say I hit 100,000 subscribers, so that's kind of cool. And I don't know what to do with that information, but I'm sure I'll figure something out. I think I'm going to do like a milestone something or other. Once I get the silver play button, it's going to be something fun. And Sarge, you took your break, and now you have returned.
Sort of, yeah, I mean, we're recording this obviously over the weekend, and the weekend I'm kind of half returning, half not returning. Like, actually, the day this comes out, I'll probably start work properly. But yeah, I had a week and a half off. I was still working back Tuesday last week, so it's not been quite a full 2 weeks. But yeah, I took some time off, relaxed a bit. I went on a train, which for me is crazy. Yeah, I actually went to a different county. It was...
Whoa.
Yeah, and considering I don't get out at all, that was quite impressive. But yeah, I just relaxed her a little bit, calmed myself down a bit, because YouTube can be a bit crazy at times when you're just day in, day out. Make a video, where's all the news? Get all the stuff, cover it, why has this not got 10 million views? So it's good to just take a step back. It was nice taking a step back and not seeing, like, thousands of people unsubscribe and stuff like that. I actually gained, I think 2 new patrons during the time I was away. I think one of them was, on the day, the other one was, a week later. I was like, sweet, that's really good. And no patrons left or anything, which was something I was genuinely worried about. I was like, but I know most of my patrons, Caedo included, and I'm like, most of them are going to be fine with this. But when you put up a video saying, hey, I'm not going to be around for a while, I did make sure to clarify there'd still be videos, because I still have videos out. I worked extra hard to have them coming out. But when you do stuff like that, as someone who's used to working every day on making stuff and interacting with the community non-stop, there is always the worry that the community will go, oh, well, screw you, buddy, if you're not here anymore, we're going! But that doesn't actually happen. Doesn't. Why would it? I've got a
There are people that exist, but
yeah,
the ones that are... In this case, the ones that are supporting for more reasons than just for the content that you make. At least, that's what I would assume anyway.
It was good having a break. Always nice to have. I will say, anyone out there, regardless of your job, and regardless of the time frame of the break and stuff, do try and take some time off at some point. Even if it's as little as just okay, this weekend I was gonna go visit a million different people, but I don't have the time and stuff. Just be like, no, take a little bit of time for yourself every once in a while and just chill. It's good for you.
Because burnout stops your progress cold.
Yep.
It really can. I'm still working out of it. I'm getting back in the habit of forcing myself to open Audacity and just say stuff into the mic so I can get myself into that mode. But it shouldn't be. Normally, that's always the hardest part for me. The whole process. Editing is the most fun part, actually. A lot of people don't share that sentiment.
Voiceover's by far the worst.
Yeah, voiceover is challenging. And then, now that I use Audacity, the editing the audio is a little bit easier, especially with the podcast and stuff like that. But it's still, I feel like it's quite a bit more tedious than actually editing video footage.
Oh yeah.
Because
it also feels a bit weird how obviously we're talking right now and we record in Audacity, and this is fine. But as soon as you're reading off a script and recording for a video that way into Audacity, it's a million times worse.
Yeah.
It's just oh god, I hate this, but I'm talking about...
It's because our agenda is much tighter when we're doing our own projects and stuff like that, whereas this is more saying what we think, and then I can edit it out if it's something too spicy for what we're doing here.
You lot don't get to hear our super controversial opinions we've got on video games and important stuff like that.
You still get more controversy than what we normally do in our, I guess, our normal stuff. But we're still more of the, at least I'm more the mindset of like, just opinions. It's just opinions, really.
Yeah.
I can get worked up about some things, but it's still, in the end, my opinion. Anyway, do you have any other stuff to share about what's going on with you? Or
I tidied my room up, and it actually looks nice for the first time in about 3 years. And
Wow.
I have tons of room in here. It turns out I got rid of like 6 bags of rubbish because I just
now
was like,
everybody-
right, I don't need that stuff. So.
is interested in seeing it?
I'll be live streaming this time-ish next week. So if you want to see like whatever's behind me in my room, just go over to BADCompanySarge and scrub side.
Linked below. Sad crumpet barge. Okay, so the tip of the day is plan your build, question mark.
Yep, I have to put that question mark in because I typed that in like an hour ago, not being sure if that would even be the tip of the day. But yeah, if you're, I wouldn't say on first playthroughs or anything, but if you're someone who's replaying a game for like 5th or 6th time, actually think about what your character's going to be before you get properly started into it. Like Fallout 4 is a big example for me, where you run through like the intro and the initial vault, and then after that you've got to just like have your character sorted, and you can't just be mixing your special around afterwards, so make sure you know what you want from a character. If you want to play like the stealth killing person, make sure you've got your agility up to 7 from the start so you can get ninja early. If you want to play a big melee person, maybe put some points into strength. All of that kind of stuff. Just work out what you're going to want. I also, because I'm the build guy, in case you didn't know, I have a tendency to often work out like what quests I'm going to do first, what factions I should join at what point, all of that kind of stuff. If I'm familiar with a game, I've got like a rough plan for probably like the first 10 levels or whatever, just with various things I'm going to do.
Yeah, I should have mentioned this in the Witcher tips and tricks thing, which we'll be talking about that later. I the second time through, I still did not have a planned build whatsoever. So right now my abilities are all over the place. But thankfully, with the DLCs or Game of the Year edition or whichever came out, like they have these potions that you can just take and it resets your respecs your character.
Oh, that's cool.
So I just didn't have the guts to do it because I wanted to get familiar with the things that I ended up choosing.
Yeah.
Because I went more into spell signs at the beginning, which turned out to be pretty effective.
I remember my short time with The Witcher 3, I went into, I can just dodge around this enemy 5 times my level and they can never attack me. Cool, I'll just do that every time.
Yeah. Sometimes that works.
Yeah.
Other times, I found out the painful way that if it happens to be something like an Archgriffin that is 15 levels above you or something like that, it will one swipe you, and
Just don't get swiped.
you have it's easier said than done with the Archgriffins. Everything else was a little bit easier. The fork tails, like the wyverns, for example, like the main threat is just their face. So if you can get around their face, then it's fine. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, planning builds is cool. It's a good idea, and something I wish I did the second time I played a game.
I'd say you can avoid it your first couple of playthroughs on big games like that. But when you're experienced with a game, you don't want to just charge in blind, or else
Yeah.
I see so many people, because I make character builds, so many people are like, I'm just going to restart my character because it's not quite the way I wanted it to be for this character, I want to switch it up. And like, you don't want to spend all your time, like, Helgen. I have been through Helgen too many times. Like, probably 200 to 300 times I've gone through the opening for Skyrim, and it's like, I don't want to be doing that more than I have to. So I want to get my character right at the start, rather than replaying that. Anyway, let's move on to news, because we're over 10 minutes in, and we haven't talked about the massive amount of news we've got to cover.
Yes. Lots of news. We didn't even say like prep people for what kind of news we're going to be talking about.
No, they're going to have to read it, kiddo. They're going to have to read the screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's on screen.
Yeah. Or they can figure it out when we start talking about it.
Yeah, that's true too.
I mean, I think our audience is pretty clever, and when we start talking about something, they realise that we're talking about it.
Tell us if you know what we're talking about in the comments below.
Alright, so first news. Final Fantasy VII, the remake, has been delayed until April 11th. And
Yes.
that's not hugely surprising, because this is...
It's not unusual.
Yeah.
It's not unusual for Square Enix.
No.
And especially an IP that they must get right, or at least feel that pressure that they have to get it right. And it was Yoshinori Kitase that put out the official statement. He's the producer of the Final Fantasy VII Remake and was one of the, I think, executive producers of the original. And I quote, "We know that so many of you are looking forward to the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake and have been waiting patiently to experience what we have been working on. In order to ensure we deliver a game that is in line with our vision and the quality that our fans who have been waiting for deserve, we have decided to move the release date to April 10th, 2020. Which is only a couple months difference.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Or even a month difference.
There's a little Twitter thing posted about it, and I've just scrolled through the replies, and they bounce around, obviously, as you can expect, with some people just horribly upset about it. The only, like, legitimate kind of person I see upset about this is one person saying that they took 2 weeks off of work for this in March, and that does suck.
That
if
really
you
does, yeah.
took time off. Like, that I can
You have to
definitely
schedule a
sympathise
month ahead, dude.
with. Yeah.
Or longer.
But someone else has put the Shigeru Miyamoto quote, "A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad," which is
Correct.
always a good thing to remember, although isn't always true, to be fair, but it's a good mentality to have with stuff like this.
It's commonly bad, though. Like,
Yeah.
we only have,
Speaking.
like one example of a game that got good, and that was, two games that got good, and that was Final Fantasy XIV and No Man's Sky. That's the only ones that come to mind right now.
Well, it depends how far you want to stretch that. Because the first one that actually jumped into my mind was New Vegas, which just, when it launched, was really buggy and busted and could barely play. And
point.
now is held up as the greatest game of all time. How dare you disagree with me? Which is obviously a far sight from, we tried launching it, but it crashes before I even get to talk to Seven Smiles. So, I'd say overall, though, a little bit of delay. It's not that long of one. I'm fine with it. I've been on break, and yet I still haven't got any more progress on Final Fantasy VII. Because I've been playing through, like, the actual old game, obviously. Because it's the only one of the PS1 trilogy that I haven't done a playthrough of. So, I really do need to play it. But
And if I hadn't bagged the whole streaming idea until, like, Dying Light 2 comes out, I would have been playing or streaming Final Fantasy VII, the original, before the release of the remake, just to, I guess, prep people for it. Because I might do videos on it. I don't know. It's very different.
it might be worth a try. I mean, if you're planning on picking up the game anyway, just dip your toe in with a quick video. Top 10 Final Fantasy VII characters.
I mean, the 10 plus things I wish I knew videos are doing really, really well. So I could probably just do one of those.
It's not a bad show. Something else that's doing really well is Games Done Quick.
Correct.
Who, the AGDQ Awesome Games Done Quick 2020 just happened, and they hit a new milestone of a donation record of over $3.1 million donated, which is a lot of money. And this all goes to the Prevent Cancer Foundation, so all cancer-stopping stuff, which is good. You want to stop that cancer, throw the money at it till it goes away.
That's
I assume
true,
that's how it works.
I hope that's how it works, and it should someday. But I'm glad that they keep meeting and exceeding goals, because this is one of the examples of gaming doing something good, or gaming like making something good happen. And GDQ has always been like one of those things that comes to mind if somebody's been like, what good has gaming ever done, or whatever, like, and then you can just point. All you gotta do is point, really.
Yeah, well, on their little statement thing, they've put, speaking of records, GDQ has now broken the $25 million mark for total donations raised throughout its history, which is a lot of money, especially considering most people watching it will, like, throw $10 or whatever. Like, there are always the high-ticket people who will drop, like, 500 quid or 1,000 or whatever, but most people watching are just throwing in, like, a few hours' wages or whatever. Wait.
Yeah.
Probably only a couple of hours' wages. People get paid much better than minimum wage most of the time, I hope.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're just throwing in a little bit, and it all adds up and makes a big thing. And just in case anyone doesn't know, GDQ is a speedrunning marathon event that's all for charity. And it's huge on Twitch. Like, there's AGDQ and SGDQ, which is the summer version, and between the two of them, they just make tons of money. You get to see awesome speedruns. In fact, just before Caedo and I started recording, I'd been watching some marathons. I was actually watching one from last year. But out of the ones I got to see this year, I watched the Final Fantasy VIII speedrun, which I freaking love, because Final Fantasy, which was Toju, Mutsuki, and Luzbelheim, which was... It's like 8.5 hours long, which sounds long, because it is, but it's still technically a speedrun, because those games are just so big.
The games themselves are long.
Yeah, it's crazy, but that's just like a day's worth of background footage for me whilst I'm editing normally, which is great. But I saw that one, I saw the Doom run, and I saw like half of the Control run as well. I don't know, did you catch any live, or are you a VOD person like me?
I am much more a VOD person. What I did notice, I think I was watching Clemps or somebody on Twitch, or Octopimp. I think I was watching them because they were playing Hades, and I'm like, oh, it's finally getting noticed, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when I looked at the games list, it showed Final Fantasy VIII at the top, and I was like, that's not right. It's because GDQ is going on.
Yeah, it's really cool to see older games or lesser known games sometimes just be the most viewed on Twitch because
it was beating everything else out by the thousands. Like, it's incredible. But yeah, the speedrunning in general is not really my thing, but fundraising through gaming is definitely something that is good, and I like to see happening in the community.
And if you do want to check out any of the speedruns, rather than just the live stuff, they have their VODs on the Games Done Quick YouTube, and I'm guessing this audience, more than anything, would love to watch the Fallout Anthology speedrun that happened, because that was Fallout 1, 2, 3, New Vegas, and 4, all being run in a single sitting.
1, 2, 3, New Vegas, and 4?
Yep.
Wow.
So 5 of the games. And it's kind of crazy, because they just get more and more broken as it goes up in the number. It's like the first game, you're just running to places, planting bombs, playing it kind of strategically.
Right.
On like 3 in New Vegas, you are literally flying.
Yeah.
It's mad.
3 was like... I think I saw a speedrun of 3 also that like ended at like 28 minutes or something like that. I remember being something ridiculously short.
There's crazy stuff. They've changed it now. It's less than 15 minutes now.
Wow.
Well, they literally fly in 3 New Vegas. I'm not kidding there. They are flying in the game. That's how broken it gets. Yeah, it's all pretty cool stuff. I love myself watching a speedrun. And it all being for charity is just that nice added bonus. Add some goodness to the world.
Yep, always a good feeling. You know what else gives a good feeling?
Is it game announcements?
It's game announcements and insane pulse-pounding action.
Ooh.
For those who recall a little game known as Nier Automata with its action, anime, all kind of crazy stuff, collaboration between Platinum and Square Enix, they're at it again, making something else called Babylon's Fall. And I've been following their Twitter. They're not sharing much yet, but they showed a mild gameplay trailer, and all this stuff is linked below that we're talking about. A mild gameplay trailer that generally looks like, Platinum. Platinum nonsense. And crazy action. If you remember also, I think Platinum, when they collaborate, they're kind of at the top of their game. Because we also got Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, which was outstanding. When he was collaborating with Kojima, or when they were collaborating with Kojima. But we'll obviously never get a sequel to that. So I look forward to seeing what Babylon's Fall ends up being, and I'm just mentioning it for anybody else who's into the hacking slashing genre, hack and slash action genre. That's to keep it on your radar.
Yeah.
Because it's probably going to be something sick and awesome, and I'm excited to see what it is. And we got more. New game releases too coming.
Yeah. Well, a game I know nothing about, Baldur's Gate, is getting a sequel. Let's pretend I've played the previous games or know anything about them. So Baldur's Gate is amazing, and it's a big franchise that everyone loves because of how cool it is. And there's a tweet that's come out just saying something's brewing, and you do get this little Baldur's Gate free trailer. And what I really like about it, actually, is the fact that they don't really show you the game, they show you behind-the-scenes stuff in it. Yes. So you get to see, like, some mocap and them scouting locations and things, which is kind of nice to see. I like stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's like a no clip, like sliding in there, getting their little documentary series in there, because they've been covering the crap out of Supergiant games. Again, Hades is amazing, and they've been going over like all their older games. But anyway, Baldur's Gate hasn't had a sequel in decades.
Been a while.
So it's definitely something that's kind of needed, and it's what Larian Studios, I feel like that was their end game. That's what they were working towards, because they've made Divinity Original Sin and Divinity Original Sin 2, two pretty popular games in the isometric RPG but modern genre, and I do very much believe that this was like their ultimate goal, actually being able to work with the D&D franchise to bring Baldur's Gate to the modern side. Anybody comparing Baldur's Gate to Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, that is a spin-off that is not representative of Baldur's Gate. That is just a hack and slash type dungeon crawler thing. That was totally different. What it's more like is a turn-based role-playing game, make your own character, have your own adventure, lots of consequences and choices and stuff like that, something we're also going to talk about later. And probably a very invested and lore-rich story, because D&D is freaking massive. Yeah. And they have a lot to draw from.
It is just D&D, the video game.
Yeah. If you cool. Yeah. And I played Neverwinter Nights, and that's like my very favorite D&D video game. But maybe Baldur's Gate 3 will knock it off its pedestal. We'll see. Sarge showed me this cool thing with the Epic Game Store. There was new additions to it, and they are improvements, as far as I can tell. Firstly, they put up this really cool infographic on their main page, in their news section, I should say. Showing how they've done so far in numbers, and I should just start at the top. There's 108 million Epic Game Store PC customers.
That's a lot.
There has been 73 free games total so far. So far.
Yeah, 73 free games released before.
There has been 200 million free games claimed, and the average score across all the free games is 80%.
That's according to OpenCritic.
Yeah, they're going off of OpenCritic for their rating system, and a lot of other like cool analytic type stuff if you're into that. But I also noticed, I want to go back to the OpenCritic thing. Now, on the game store, if you go to any of the games, if you scroll all the way to they left it at the bottom. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you will see the actual OpenCritic score of the game as well. And I think that was a new addition, along with showing us this stuff, because I didn't notice it before. So, yeah, they're definitely working towards, I mean, they're already competing with Steam. I'm not even gonna lie. it's happening, whether you like Epic Game Store or not. The topic has been talked about many times here. I have personally no problem with the Epic Game Store. I make sure to say that. I feel like I should say that every single time I talk about it, is because I only see it as a mild inconvenience. Because you can still, at this point now, not at when it started, but at this point now, you can still play games offline, which was my main concern, is installed games could be played offline. And now that that's a thing, like, I have no other issues with it whatsoever. What I have been having issues with is Steam. So it's kind of flipped a little bit. But I see this more healthy than anything, because now both sides are being forced to innovate, which is awesome. Because Steam's owned the gaming marketplace for so long. And GOG kind of has their own little niche, that CD Projekt Red's like non-DRM service, but
there's like some minor players out there, but Steam has always been the big one, and the Epic Store's the only one really getting big enough numbers to be a direct competitor to them. And it's good to have competitors in the big open market if you're someone who purchases the product rather than working for the company. Like, you as a customer, you should be wanting there to be some competition, or else the things you're buying and the places you're buying them from never really have a reason to improve themselves. They can just kind of stall and just work out how to make lots of money and then not have to change anything no matter what. So competition is good.
I'm gonna do a tinfoil hat thing right now.
Oh,
Valve just started developing games and revealing them.
Yes.
The past year, they've been like, oh, Half-Life Alyx. Oh, Left 4 Dead 3 might be a thing.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this kind of situation helped trigger that, because otherwise they were just content with their piles of money on Steam.
I'd certainly say it's probably helped quite a bit, especially seeing as the Epic Games Store has had exclusives to it, where if you're a PC player, games are just being sold like on the Epic Store, which got people really riled up. Yes, I always find crazy, because console exclusives are still a thing, and that's where I get the big problem, not which site I get them off of.
Yeah.
But
and then purchasing a console and then purchasing that game and then finding out it comes out on PC 4 years later.
Horizon Zero Dawn I just saw has been announced for PC.
I think it was 4 years.
Might be about that long. It's been a while.
I just bought it like a month ago. Yeah, for the PS4.
No. I think it's cool that Valve are working on some new games, because Valve have a good history with their games.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there was no reason for them to make anything when the profits from making games were tiny compared to just selling other people's games. Like, that's why when you go into a standard retail store, they're not like building the products there half the time, because building the products take lots of time and money, but just selling them is a lot easier and makes more most of the time. Yeah. That's all pretty cool. Plus, a final thing that we didn't actually mention, as well as there being a whole bunch of 73 free games on the Epic Games Store in the past, the free games each and every week are continuing throughout 2020. So that is pretty sweet. If you don't have a problem with the Epic Games Store, then you get just a free game every week. I know during Christmas as well they were doing daily free games. So I think I've bought
each week.
Yeah.
That's like 48 games.
There's a lot of games. I'm trying to boot up my library right now to see how many games I've got. Because
Correct my math if I'm wrong. But
probably.
That's 48 games in 1 year for free.
Okay, so I've only bought 4 games on the Epic Store, but I've got 1, 2... Okay, I've got about 50 games in the Epic Store, and I've bought 4 games. That's how crazy it is. And some of these are big games. Like, I've got the Arkham trilogy. I've got Darksiders 1 and 2. I've got FTL. There are a couple of actually endlessly free ones, like Fortnite and Dauntless. But I've got, like, the Lego Batman. I've got Limbo. I've got Metro 2033. I've got a Mutant Year Zero. There's like, some big games that they've given away. As well as, like, just minor stuff you might not have heard about, but it's still worth a shot. So, yeah. If you don't have a problem with the Epic Games Store and you're a PC player, it's worth installing, because there's free games out every week, so it's worth it for that.
If you're on a budget, or you just like free games and you have no problem with the Epic Store, like, they're just sitting there waiting for you to play.
My mind actually right now jumps immediately to a YouTube perspective, where you could make a YouTube channel just based around playing the free game off the Epic Games Store every single week, and each week you just focus on the game that's free, do like a first initial look of it, a quick review, some basic tips and tricks, and maybe like a live stream of it. Every week, you could just do a new game, and not have to pay a single penny. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah, you could absolutely be a budget YouTuber too.
Yeah. There's going to be people listening to us who want to start up a YouTube channel. If you want a cheap way to do that, and you've already got yourself a reasonable gaming PC and like a half-decent microphone, you can do that. Go for it. It's lots of people always want to get into YouTube, and the lower cost spent on starting is always good, and this is a great way to hone your skills on that kind of thing.
Yeah, that could be a whole subject, like going budget and like best tips and stuff like that. But yeah, I figure we should probably move on from from this topic. It wasn't as negative as it has been in the past, so that's good. Yeah. But anyway, Borderlands. There's a couple things happening with Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about this one, Sarge?
They're
good
happy
things.
To talk about it, yes, because I've been dealing with some of these things. So kind of the big news thing right now, or two news things I suppose, is the legendary drop rates are being increased from, like, a few days ago it started, and up until January 30th, legendary drop rates are increasing, rare spawns are increasing, anointed drop rates are increasing. So basically, if you play Borderlands 3 this month, you're probably going to get better gear, which is just great, because if you're doing some gear farming, like I was the other day, it's going to be good for you. Additionally, I think during that same time, for the next 2 weeks, the takedown at Mallow and Black Site is going to be a lot easier, because it scales to, I think, one person, or scales to the number of people on your team, rather than being a permanent 4-person scale, which it normally is, because it's the big raid. Yeah. So, if you haven't been able to complete takedown at Mallow and Black Site yet, do it now, it should be a bit easier. Even if you've got like a person or two. Yeah.
Too, by the way.
I mean, I remember the first time we did it, where I kept going on about, like, this has got to be scaled up higher, or something like that. Because it was pretty crazy how tough it is. And it means if you want to solo it now's your best chance. Yeah. I almost soloed it when you and Elsa died.
You almost did.
It took so long.
There are ways to solo it, but it's going to... You're going to have to break your damage output somehow. Probably with the anointed stuff you pick up at the same time.
Yeah.
But, the fear of missing out tactic, they're using that, I want to say, like, the healthiest way. I don't know if I can even say that. But they're using it in a way to where it brings players back to do the thing that they wanted to do or been complaining about for a short period of time. And potentially, like, get the stuff that they want. Just play the game more, essentially, until the next big DLC comes out.
Yeah.
They're keeping Borderlands 3 relevant for in pretty decent ways. Pretty good ways.
It's a smart thing to do.
Free events.
Yeah, because there's an event like every single month. There's something happening in Borderlands 3 every single month, and it will not stop.
Yep.
And I know, like, personally, they had some hot fixes, which, there's... Where is it? Oh, it doesn't have it on this one. There's another thing which I don't think is even mentioned in the hot fixes, so I'll mention it now. I was farming, like, a few days ago when the event first started. It's not Roadhog, but it's the boss or the rare enemy based around Roadhog, who I was farming for the Hellwalker shotgun. I wanted an anointed variant of it for my Beastmaster.
That one took me, like, second longest to farm.
Yeah, I was farming it at first when the event first started, and it was like, man, I'm getting nothing from him. Like, he was literally dropping nothing half the times I killed him.
Yeah.
Then, the next day, I saw a little update where it was like, hey, we noticed a few enemies weren't dropping increased loot, and it had him on the list. I was like, oh god, that's why nothing was happening. So yesterday, I went up and farmed him, killed him like 4 or 5 times, got the strategy down perfectly, by the way. Like, I triggered none of the other enemies in the camp whilst killing him. Yeah, I've worked out the exact way you do it. Like, I've got pinpoint precision, and it's awesome. But yeah, I killed him, like, 5th or 6th time, got my anointed Hellwalker with bonus critical damage. I was like, perfect, that is exactly the drop I wanted. Like, the anointed thing, everything. It was 100% what I wanted. And now my flak build is complete, which is pretty sweet. So,
awesome.
Yeah, it's good to do. If you want to do any farming, do it now.
Yes. And that makes me want to go take out Urismic Enforcer, because I know that he's going to actually show up when I do, because he's the one that drops the recharger. And I want another anointed recharger because I like rechargers.
They are amazing.
It's a shield that I'm talking about. And he may give a anointed crossbow too, which I don't know how much that would be useful.
I mean,
might be fun and silly.
Yeah, with the amount of legendaries that can drop from any enemy as well, you should be able to get a lot of anointed legendaries during this time. Like, I just opening chests and killing the boss got a whole bunch of other anointed legendary weapons, which I was like, yeah, I'll keep hold of this for now. Why not?
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. There's also been, like, the standard bug fixes and stuff. The one big kind of change I noticed in terms of weapons is the ion cannon has been nerfed. And this was a god gun. It was a rocket launcher from the Handsome Jackpot DLC, and both Caedo and I had spent time just kind of charging around with it, one-shotting enemies. And I'd been playing as Mose with it as well, who has an ability where you can sprint and shoot at the same time. So I literally just had a rocket launcher on my shoulder, would sprint through areas, and would just headshot kill everyone with a rocket launcher whilst running full speed. It was crazy. So yeah, it's now got a 5-second reload and consumes at least 6 ammo per shot. Which,
at least 6.
Yeah, which is a lot. It means you can't just kind of spam fire it as much as it could, because it was already like really high damage, decent blast radius. It had no major downside. So now they've actually given it like, okay, we've made it a bit harder to reload, and we've made it have less shots in the magazine.
Yeah, keep in mind this thing already has a charge up too.
Yeah. Was
like, you charge it up, you let go of the trigger, and then whatever you're pointing at dies. In a violent cascade of whatever elements it's firing. I ended up killing the boss that drops it with its own weapon that it drops, because it ended up giving me an anointed version that like doubled damage after ability usage or something. Like it was dumb. Really dumb. And it was already a double shot, fired 2 projectiles. So that's the one you saw me using like most of the time, because it's just absurd how much damage it dealt. Didn't I tell you at one point that it was going to get nerfed? I'm pretty sure I did.
I mean, we've known the guns that are going to be nerfed are pretty obvious. Like, if you play the game even just a reasonable amount like we do, you find the good guns, you're like, oh wow, the Cutsman is amazing. Or, oh wow, the King's Skull and stuff is really good. Oh wow, the Iron Cannon's really great. It's like, okay, you can tell the stuff that's likely going to be a nerf. You can tell what's going to be buffed as well, because guess which characters have had their anointeds buffed? Everyone except the Siren! What a surprise!
Imagine that!
Yeah. So, it's pretty much a running joke at this point, but the Siren is just the best character. She started out like twice as strong as everyone else.
Yep.
And now all the other characters. I am glad they're not nerfing the Siren and instead are buffing the other characters.
Yeah, same. Like the Siren's being used as the benchmark instead of getting nerfed into the ground.
Yeah. Like, I think you can do maybe... I feel like they've probably done a mild nerf to the Siren here and there. Like, I'm sure they've tweaked some stuff in the past which changed it a tiny bit, but there's been nothing major. And now for anointed effects for the Gunner, Operative, and Beastmaster, they've all just basically been buffed a bit. So it's generally just percentages being raised. So it's nothing too major, but it will give you substantial bonuses now when using anointed weapons for those specific classes, which is just pretty nice to have. Makes them all just more effective to use.
Yep. And we're not done with talking about updates yet, but it's going to be a different game. In fact, a game that Sarge is also intimately familiar with.
Oh.
You like that segue, Sarge?
Yeah, wasn't creepy at all. Well, I know every inch of Fallout 76. Why that? That's it.
Are you gonna run with that?
Yeah, why not? So, cool.
Okay.
Fallout 76. There's some stuff that's been happening with it. Really annoyingly, because I've been on break and haven't been able to cover it. But yes. So, first thing is Wastelanders, the big update, which is kind of promised to change the entire game. It's going to bring NPCs back, give a whole new quest line, and tons of other stuff. There's a private test server coming this month. It actually has been delayed slightly of when it's starting up. But there was an application process where if you were a Fallout 76 PC player, you could go onto the website and request to be picked to play Wastelanders early on its own private server. You would be under NDA for all of it, which is a non-disclosure agreement, where you're not allowed to share anything about the game. You're not allowed to talk about it, not allowed to do anything there. Right. So, if you're a person who gets an email back from Bethesda after replying, do not talk about the game. Just... Yes. That's it. There's nothing else to say on that.
Yeah. They would probably say in the email, too, like, you run the risk of losing your account and your access to the game entirely.
Yeah. There'll be
if you were to decide to exploit that for, like, I don't know, some sort of info game.
Yep. Although, I'm sure we all know there's going to be people covering it despite the NDA.
Yeah.
Who... Fallout 76 already has an interesting relationship with some YouTubers, because I hear the phrase hate tubers get thrown a fair bit around
really?
With 76. Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Oh yeah. There are people who cover the game purely to like criticize it and complain about stuff, and they've always got like 3,000 hours in the game, and it's crazy to me.
I've seen a couple like that, but I can tell that they're actually genuinely having fun, but still only getting like the worst moments because they get the most attention, which is funny and ironic.
Yeah, there'll be some people like that. There are some people who genuinely do seem to hate the game whilst playing it all the time as well, which is crazy. Yeah. But there'll be people out there who will no doubt end up covering this. We both are telling you though, don't. Just don't. It's not worth it. It's a video game. If you decide to sign a legal document style thingy, don't then go and just break it instantly. It's just not a smart move.
Correct.
Anyhow, the fact that there is a private test server for Wastelanders is a good sign. And Bethesda have delayed this, they've put tons of work into this, they obviously want this to launch well.
Yeah.
Which it needs to.
Yes.
It really does. If 76 is going to have its reputation turned around, it will be through Wastelanders. And I, as a predominantly 76 YouTuber, am kind of waiting on Wastelanders to see if I stick with 76 for, like, potentially years to come, or if I should look into changing my channel. Because it's that big of a thing.
Yep.
But yeah, they've talked about Wastelanders having a PTS, although it seems that the confirmation emails have not come out yet, confirming if anyone has got a place. I asked to be on, I can say that. I applied, and I have not got an email. If I do get an email, you won't hear about it, though, because I won't be talking about
it. Yep. I didn't apply, because I don't have a reason to.
No. They have said that they are, like, picking people. Like, I think there's, like, a couple of hundred slots or something they're planning on filling, and they're looking at, like, players to see who they should pick. So I'm kind of hoping they're somewhat discerning, because I know they're looking for people who play regularly and play a fair amount.
Yeah.
And fingers crossed that they won't pick people who might bring up some red flags or whatever.
Yeah.
But something else we get from Wastelanders is they've shown us like a new map and quest UI, which the UI of the game with quests and the map in general has improved a lot.
Yes.
Like, since it first came out, it is just better in so many minor little ways that you could do like a side-to-side comparison and not realise anything has changed. But when actually in the game, it just works so much better. But the big thing here is main questline stuff will now be able to show up as little like black diamonds on the map, and then you can choose from those which you want to make active, which you want to deselect, all of that kind of stuff. It's just, and then when you click on it as well, you get a little description, a little bit of a journal, and your objective, along with a picture of it. It's just nice for making it easier to follow quests, to be able to sort out your stuff on your map. And because you pick up a lot of quests and stuff in 76 as you travel around, it also is going to make it a lot easier to just boot up your map, quickly see, oh, I'm near a location relevant to a quest, let's just go there quick. It's just another small quality of life improvement thing. It also shows one of the first actual quests for Wastelanders, Wayward Souls, Discover the Fate of Appalachia and Its People, where the women have directed me towards the Wayward, a recently set up bar further down the mountains I should pay a visit. And it says speak to Penningworth and stuff and visit the Wayward, and there's actual, like, stuff being told about the start of Wastelanders in here.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
I wanted to mention, too, that the Pip-Boy that they're using, was that already in the Atom Shop, or is that a new classic version of the Pip-Boy?
I don't know. So you do actually see the actual Pip-Boy, which I never have booted up because I've always got it in, like, the tactical view.
Oh, right.
Because I like to see what's happening around me. There's
Yeah.
like a tactical view for the Pip-Boy where it basically doesn't cover the full screen and there's no background, so you can just see if you're about to be attacked by, like, a sheep squatch or whatever.
Because that's definitely got a Pip-Boy 2000 vibe.
It wouldn't surprise me. To me, it could be the default one, for all I know.
It could be just repainted default. Like, I could be like that far out of touch with the game too.
Yeah.
That
We can't comment on that properly, unfortunately. Final bit of news for 76 though is to do with the Vault Raids. Because bye-bye Vault Raids, they're going away.
I told you this was going to happen.
I'm pretty sure I've said this is probably going to happen as well. I actually made a joke on a Discord server that it tends to be almost exactly 3 months after I make a YouTube video saying, oh, this thing isn't very good, it needs to improve if it wants to last. 3 months later, it gets cancelled. It happened with Survival Mode, it's happened with the Vault Raids.
Yeah.
I have the power.
Yeah. It's choosing to focus on the things that are working and things that players are playing. I really hope that they have a means to actually tell what players are doing in their game now.
I think they do. They've got a lot of analytics behind the scenes.
Some sort of monitoring of something. Because I know they did have, like, when the Sheep Squatch event started or something like that? Like, they had, like, an infographic on or was it the Meat Week thing? It was the Meat Week thing.
They have a lot of infographics that come out, like, almost every single month. They've got tons of information. They
do get analytics from the game, but we don't know, like, what exact ones that they get. But I would gather that, you know, a lot of them dropped way off after the first week. Or even 2 weeks, if I'm being generous.
Well, Vault 94 had, like, it changed each week.
Or, sorry, yeah,
and
3 weeks. The first 3 weeks, I should say.
So I imagine the first month of Vault 94 wasn't bad. Because then you get the hardcore people who actually want the rewards were going in for it.
Mm-hmm.
And people who just wanted to try it out attempted it then, like myself. And after that, everyone realised, oh, it's a bit of a grind, there's a lot of lag, a lot of terminals, sometimes gets a bit buggy. Nah, I'm good.
Yeah. The chance of instability, of crashing out and losing out on all the stuff you invested in. And there's also the lack of rewards that it started with, too. Yeah. So, or the low amount of rewards for the amount of time spent.
Yeah, they did some stupid stuff as well. Like, in the vault, you fight a ton of enemies. So an obvious thing would be like, okay, maybe it's good for XP. But then they reduced all of the XP from killing creatures down to, like, individual digits. So you'd waste the same amount of bullets on, like, killing a Mirelurk hunter or whatever, and get, like, a tenth of the XP. And it's like...
And even though there was value in the junk that you would find in this vault, you're on a timer.
Yeah.
You can't just go gather junk and expect to finish the raid. Like,
you could do the easiest difficulty with that.
You can do the easiest difficulty.
The actual rewards from the quest aren't that great on the easiest difficulty.
Like, there was no opening or no opportunity for the loot to be, or the rewards to be good, to incentivize players continue playing.
It was high cost, low reward. Simple as that. And for something that wasn't particularly fun.
Yeah. And it was also pretty similar to Project Paradise, which is another example I used, and the Burrows. Like, these are all fantastic environmentally. They look great, but once they're in motion, it's a train wreck. For lack of a better word. The Project Paradise worked fine, of course, but when that came out too, I didn't hard crash as much in Vault 94 as I did in Project Paradise. I hard crashed probably, I can't remember exactly. I talked about it in the PIPCAST. Like, once we got to a certain point, like, something in the event would crash people's games and prevent you from getting the rewards, and you'd have to wait until the event triggered again, which was on, like, was it a 3-hour timer or something like that?
Possibly. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
those events.
And the Burrows was like a one-off dungeon.
Yeah, the Burrows in itself is fine.
Yeah.
The only problem with the Burrows was that it was a bit too hyped up.
All the work that was put in was mainly environmental and object placement.
It was a nice added quest, a new location that looks cool. It had a really nice music that went along with it as well. Like, amazing music. But other than that, it was just, hey, here's a quest in an underground location. But it had been hyped up for like a month or two before it occurred.
Yeah.
As like this huge
missed opportunity.
high-level place. Where I know I went with Fredo, one of my patrons. The two of us went through, like, stealthing it, all make sure we're geared up, full equipment. It's like, what are we going to find down here? Oh, it's ghouls. Just ghouls. Cool, we shoot them, we run through. That's it, the quest done? Cool. Good to know.
So, those of you who are listening to me know of, or listening to us, I should say, and are interested in what the Fallout community has to say, maybe you're familiar with Mr. Matty Plays, and he did a video on this stuff. I would recommend watching his coverage on this article too, which, if you're more interested in the topic itself, and why Bethesda keeps like shutting down these events, and it's more, I'm sure it's more shifting resources to things that are actually working. Nuclear Winter is the example I like to use because it is still being played.
Yeah.
And I think it's come down to that more so, like they're realizing how much they're bloating their game with things that aren't like hooking players, so they're not, I don't know, gaining their resources back in a sense. At least that's how I'm kind of seeing it. And then I also did a comparison with Fortnite and Epic, which was quite a turn. I haven't had a reply to it, so I hope there's no angry people replying about Fortnite.
Almost certainly will be.
But with Fortnite, the game as people perceive it now was not what they released initially. The PvE mode on Fortnite is completely different from Battle Royale. Completely different. But once they tackled that Battle Royale idea and executed it beautifully, by the way, this is the most props you'll hear me giving Fortnite and Epic, they decided to shift their resources and move to something that was lucrative and also people loved to play. And sadly, the PvE mode, the story mode that I personally enjoy a lot more, got put on the back burner and gets about a third as many updates as Battle Royale. And a lot of the stuff from Battle Royale is getting put over in, like they're reusing assets kind of thing. And it's a cosmetic character in Battle Royale, but it's an actual class in the PvE mode. But all they have to do is, add stats and abilities, and that's it. You already got the character design. But yeah, I think it's a smart move, kind of getting rid of the things that aren't quite never were quite working the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. If something's taking time and work away from what you need to be focusing on, and it's not yielding the rewards, get rid of it. Simple as.
Yep. That can be applied to both the players and the developers.
Yeah, get rid of all players. Screw them. Get rid of them all. No one playing the game. Ha ha ha.
No, I'm talking about the time spent is not worth the results. Yeah. You got a good point, Sarge, as well.
I'm talking about spending a lot of time to try and get something working the way you want it to. Cyberpunk 2077 has been delayed.
Yay.
And this is not a small delay, because it was originally planned to release in April. Now it is releasing mid-September.
Yep.
It's the other half of the year.
Long delay.
It's a real long delay. So, yeah, it's 5 months it's being delayed by, which is pretty crazy. So those of you who were looking forward to Cyberpunk, you are going to have to wait for longer for it.
Play The Witcher 3.
Yeah. You can just play The Witcher 3 if you want. It's very popular right now.
If you need some CD Projekt Red awesomeness, because you'll definitely have the time. And the game itself takes a lot of time already. So,
yeah. You'll spend all 5 of those months just getting through, like, the first half of the game.
Yeah. I doubled my playtime on The Witcher 3. Okay. Did you want to read the thing, or we're just saying it's delayed?
Oh, I can do a dramatic reading of it.
Please do.
I'll just do the middle bit, because I've already basically covered the first half. We are currently at a stage where the game is complete and playable, but there's still work to be done. Night City is massive, full of stories, content, and places to visit, but due to the sheer scale and complexity of it all, we need more time to finish playtesting, fixing, and polishing. We want Cyberpunk 2077 to be our crowning achievement for this generation, and postponing launch will give us the precious months we need to make the game perfect. That's the bulk of their statement they've put on this.
They said this generation, so maybe they're kind of waiting for the next gen console release too.
A lot of people have been saying that, and I wouldn't be surprised. I still imagine it will be on last gen consoles, just because I feel like they're not going to crank it up so much that it's just next gen. But they might do. You never know.
Possible.
If they've already been working on it, thinking about the next generation, then it could be the case. But I would say don't immediately go out and pre-order the next console just for Cyberpunk at this stage. That'd be a bit crazy. I will say I'm happy with this for the most part. First off, a game being postponed to be better is something we're down for, in general terms.
Yep.
From a content creator side, I will say the April release was very close to whenever Wastelanders is likely to release. So, for me, it was kind of a double-edged sword of if Wastelanders goes well, an April release for Cyberpunk would have sucked because I wouldn't have really been able to cover the game much. If Wastelanders went badly, a Cyberpunk release in April would have been perfect because I could have transitioned over. Yeah. So now I'm having to double down on Wastelanders. But it means come September time, I've got something I can cover at the end of the year if I want a bit of a change. Yep. Or even if I don't cover it, it'd just be cool to play that game.
Yeah. I like when delays like that happen where it ends up spreading out the games you're more interested in to where you're allowed to fully focus on the one that's there now and then look forward to the one that's coming.
I mean, end of last year was a bit of a nightmare, I'd say, for games releasing.
Yes.
Because Borderlands 3 and Outer Worlds were like 2 weeks apart, was it? It was close, I remember, between those two, which I wasn't a fan of. Because it was just play, switch over, play. Oh, I don't want to switch over to the
If you listeners recall me talking about Burnout, that's what helped it happen. And I kind of got the short form guides out of my system, I think.
That's good.
That was all last year, pretty much, because I did for Rage 2 also.
Oh yeah, Rage 2 wasn't that 2018? Was it 2019? Wow.
Early 2019.
Jeez.
Okay, there's Sarge.
I kind of forget that I've only been doing the whole YouTube thing for like a few years, and I'm only been doing it full time for like 1 year. So like all the games I've covered on YouTube at any point, I'm like, oh, that was just like over the course of 10 years, right? But no.
It gets worse.
Keep coming out. Yeah.
The feeling gets worse, by the way.
Oh, great.
Like, that only came out a little bit ago. And then you look at the actual date it came out, and you're like, oh my god, how did 5 years pass? Because now it's Fallout 4. Fallout 4 was almost 5 years ago. 4.5.
I mean, Fallout 4 was the game I like started with as well, pretty much. That was jeez.
Also seeing how far you've come, like, because we have that, like, documented.
You say that. I've deleted a lot of the early videos.
Oh.
Like, there was about a month's worth of videos I was just like, yeah, I'm going to delete these. They're not worth sticking around.
That destroys your SEO, Sarge. Or did you private them?
I didn't private them, I actually deleted them.
Oh, I mean, no.
What's so bad about that? They were early ones with, like, no views, pretty much. It's not like I was deleting everything.
Yeah.
It was just, like, some stuff that wasn't needed. I think my Let's Play of Final Fantasy IX, the first, like, 4 or 5 episodes I did of that, there was a bullet hell game. There wasn't much people were missing. I actually had someone the other day, I think it was when I put, like, a Facebook post or something saying, hey, I'm going on break, just to let you lot know, here's the video or whatever. I think I had someone in the comments say, I've been here since Attack of the Flying Japanese Schoolgirl, which was like the third video I think I ever released, which was the Bullet Hell game, which is a garbage game. They were like, I've been around since that, I'm sticking around from now on, and I was like, wow. That was like someone who was probably in my first 10 subscribers.
That's heartwarming.
Yeah.
I like hearing that.
That was really cool. And that video's gone forever now. Nobody can see it. So, I don't even know what it was like.
Dang.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy, man.
Well, if you want to see some first-time Let's Play cringe, I guess you could, check back on my videos and see the horrible XCOM Exterminators series that I did.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was going to be a strat channel, but nope.
Ooh. I do love going to channels and just going to oldest video. What do they call it? I'm going to go on your channel and check now. We're doing this live. Yeah. And there's like you click on videos, you click on, sort by date added oldest, and Caedo has 7 years ago, Skyrim Daedric Artifacts, Azura's Star, Ring of Hercene / Saviour's Hide, Mace of Molag Bal. That's the first one that pops up.
Yeah.
And then your second video, Skyrim Ode to D-Bags. Wow, I know what I'm watching after the PIPCAST.
That one was actually fun to make. It was a goofy meme that never took off because you got to be real strategic with what you put on Reddit.
Yeah.
Here's a trick. Here's a trick I learned. Here's a pro tip. Here's a pro tip I learned, everybody. If you go to put your video footage on Reddit, make a clip of the video and put it on Streamable, because links to Streamable come up as actual previews on Reddit. So you can make your meme post out of that clip and be fine. Moderators hate YouTube links. So there's the trick. But also, after the post gains some traction, then that's your moment to go into the comments section and say, here's the full video, and then link it. That's how you do it without getting banned from a subreddit or have your post taken down. Because anything else creatively, I'm going to start a rant. Anything else creatively is fine. If you're doing fan art, if you're doing cosplay, if you're sculpting something out of clay based on a game you like, whatever, that's fine. If it's a video you made, no, it's the worst thing ever. That's just an automatic thing that Reddit says. And I hate it because it's low effort like video content that kind of calls that, and dubstep intros too. Don't make a dubstep intro. In fact, don't make an intro at all. We're past that age. That's my recommendation and my rant at the same time. Hey, let's talk about the Fallout topic.
Yeah, it's probably time to move on. Because you're ranting. I'm scrolling through your oldest videos right now. God, you've got like a 2,000 subscriber video on here from like 6 years ago.
I can't even be consistent with those.
Yeah, you had a 2,000 subscriber thing, and then a 6,000 subscriber thing. I'm like, what are your milestones here?
I have an 88,000 one too.
Oh my god, why? It makes no sense. Like, I am already planning for like 25k. I'm like, that's a sensible one. I think I did 1k, 10k, and then I'll do 25k. I've got these sorted. You've got to have consistency.
I got a mess.
You've got to choose carefully or suffer the consequences.
Indeed, Sarge. You do. Tell me your surprise, Sarge.
What?
That you were saving for the whole thing. You're saving it for the Fallout topic. You're gonna surprise me. You're gonna wow me. Okay,
so the topic we're covering right now, some of the audience knows what we're on about, rather than jabbering about stuff we were talking about before we even started recording. So today, for our Fallout topic, we want to talk about choice and consequence within the Fallout games. And I figure I'll kick it off by talking about my favourite kind of choice you have in a Fallout game with a big consequence. And for me, it's the bomb in Megaton.
Aha!
Yeah, because although it can be criticised as like, the evil option's stupid or whatever, both sides have their advantages.
Yes.
But the fact that if you just play the standard good guy, you can just like disarm the bomb or whatever, and that's fine. That's a fairly vanilla standard way to play it. But if you want to be a bit more evil, you can blow up the bomb. If it's like your first playthrough or whatever, you probably don't know about the bobblehead in Lucas Sim's house. You don't know that you're about to kill off a whole bunch of quest givers and important characters, and that the main quest is about to lose its notification marker because you just killed the one lead you had. It's really cool. Like, I love the fact you can blow up Megaton, and the fact that you don't really get real warning that what you're going to do can screw you over. Like Moira's the only person who might survive, and I'm pretty sure don't you have to start Wasteland Survival Guide or else she dies as well?
I think she's alive no matter what.
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure.
I thought you had to start the guide, but yeah, her being the only potential person to survive, you blow up like so many people there, and it's like this huge consequence. And it's freaking amazing, man. Like, I don't think there's any other moment in any of the Fallout games which really come close to it, for me at least. Like, that was such a big one. Because Megaton's like, even now, I've been playing Fallout 3, Megaton is my home. I spend all my time there, I've got so much I do there. It's where I've spent the majority of my time in Fallout 3. It's the location that I have spent the most time in. And the fact you can just blow it off the face of the earth, because some rich guy is willing to give you like 1,000 caps or whatever to potentially do it. It's crazy, man. I love it. It's great. I want more of that. More of that in my Fallout games.
I wouldn't call it a micro choice because it's a freaking nuke, but it's a contained choice because like it has an effect on the area that it's in, but on the overarching thing, James will say something about it, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Those kind of choices where it's like, oh, characters comment on it and like 10 things down the line a butterfly goes by and oh, that's because you shot this person in the foot rather than the arm. I'm never huge on those things. I like my choice and consequence to be big, immediate, and just kind of like, oh dear god, that entire thing happened, now I just have to live with it.
Well, this will make for an interesting conversation because I like the former.
Oh, you're wrong, I see.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong.
No,
I'm not starting a debate or anything.
Fight.
I do like you using that as I wouldn't even think about it because I just think about the railroaded ending of Fallout 3.
Yeah.
More so. But I think it's because I guess that's where my head goes when I think about choice and consequence, and by the end you know whether it meant anything or not. Is like the culmination of your decisions. Does it actually do something different, or is the result kind of the same? And my example that I used was Fallout 4 because while it's not a string of dialogue per se that gets you to that point of deciding which faction or factions to side with by the end, it is a decision the player gets to make, and at the end and after the end, you get to see the results of that decision. And I don't think, because New Vegas obviously doesn't continue afterwards because they didn't have time to flesh that out. Fallout 2 did it a little bit. Fallout 2 has a play after you beat it. Fallout 1 does not.
No.
Fallout 2's was actually kind of more hilarious than anything, because like all the NPCs like say stuff like, oh, you saved the world, kind of thing, and then like you go to the church in Fallout 2 in New Reno where Father Tully is, and you speak to him. He's just like plastered all day. He's just a priest that's drunk all the time, and he hands you the guidebook for Fallout 2 like in the game, and you read the guidebook and it maxes out all your skills and gives you a level up each time you read it. And you can read it as many times as you want.
Jeez.
It's like a cheat book for the end game. And I think those kinds of things are kind of entertaining too, but overall there's no major change to the world. It's just like a little extra bit of Easter eggy stuff. But like say you side with the Brotherhood of Steel in the end of Fallout 4, you find them wandering around Diamond City and protecting the citizens there and stuff like that, because that's the decision you made. And seeing its effect again, like seeing its effect on the world, your decisions. The end slides are a thing too. Fallout 4 didn't have an end slide sequence.
It had like a little cinematic instead.
The cool thing Sarge just said, and I haven't listened back to yet, it just cut out entirely.
Yeah.
And Sarge thought it was stunned silence.
Yep.
But in reality, it was a disconnection.
Yeah.
So we had to restart the recording.
It was an instant disconnection as well. Like normally, we've had Discord have problems and stuff before. I just heard like a several crashes and smashes in my house. My house might collapse any second, so apologies if I just die at any point during this recording.
Please no.
Yeah. But Caedo was talking about Fallout 4 and how the ending has I felt the room shake. This is slightly worrying now. Please let me survive. But yeah, there's stuff happens in the ending of that, and I was just going to say that it's kind of funny because obviously the topic we're trying to talk about right now is choice and consequence. However, I almost put forward our favourite Fallout 4 endings as an alternate topic to talk about, and I was going to talk about how Fallout 4 has a really good thing for the post-endgame. It actually feels like your choice of which faction you side with matters more than in any of the other previous games where it's like, here's some end slides, and now nothing changes.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I love how the game actually moulds more to the world post-game. And it's one of the reasons I think Fallout 4 is probably the only Fallout game where I'm happy to rush through the main quest line. Because in all of the others, it feels like the main quest line should kind of be the end to some extent or another.
Yeah.
Whereas Fallout 4, you go through the main quest line and everything is still there for you to do. Mm-hmm. So I love that about it.
And it didn't need DLC to get to the end.
Yep.
It didn't need DLC to fix its ending, which Fallout 3 did.
Yeah. I didn't do the New Vegas where there was
that too.
Half parallel ending with Lonesome Road.
Yeah. So. That was a personal story versus the overarching event going on thing. That one was done kind of cool, but again, it has a very definitive end.
Yeah.
Where you kick the general off of the edge of the dam, and it's hilarious.
I mean, there are some other things you can do. You don't have to murder him. You're going to, but you don't.
But it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Any ragdoll option, I'm gonna go with that one.
Yeah.
So that's basically all I had for the best Fallout game, I think. And Sarge said his was the Megaton. It was the Megaton thing, right?
Yeah, Megaton blowing up. I'd say that's my best moment. I think, generically speaking, though, I'd give choice/consequence to New Vegas because of a reputation system. Mm-hmm. I think that just does a very good kind of clear-cut, your actions have consequences, gameplay mechanic into it all, which is good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's all that exciting, because it is, you are evil now, this faction hates you, rather than a more subtle or nuanced, or even just a more show-don't-tell approach that a lot of the other stuff done. It's very much, just tell, which isn't all that fancy, but it gets the message across. So I think, in terms of choice and consequence overall, New Vegas probably does it not the best, but the most direct and more. But Fallout 3 Megaton still has my vote for favourite moment of choice and consequence.
Yeah. And I was going to mention some other games. And those of you in the comments who can think of a good choice consequence that happens throughout the Fallout series, or a counter argument to one of our declarations of what we thought were the best or really good.
Yeah.
Please mention it down below. We like to interact about these things, and maybe, just maybe, there'll be a developer somewhere someday who thinks about this kind of stuff. And applies it to what they're working on.
Yeah.
In an ideal world. But outside of Fallout, I was going to talk about The Witcher 3. I've been playing it a lot the last week and a half or so, until Iceborne came out. Then I started playing that. But The Witcher 3, I put this in my 10 plus things I wish I knew about The Witcher 3. I should probably link that down below too, because that's been doing exceptionally well.
It has.
I geared that towards newer players. I mentioned making it the last PIPCAST, but now it's actually got numbers to back its usefulness.
It's at 80,000 views now.
Yeah,
that is really good.
It had just barely hit 1K or just under when we recorded the last one.
But no, it wasn't even out that long ago, was it? Oh no, it came
out
out
2 weeks ago.
when we were recording, I think.
Yes.
So It was like
and
right
by
at
that
the
time
start.
I didn't know like how it was going to perform.
No.
But now I can say that it performed very well.
Yeah. Oh, I can
But,
see it kind of hitting 100k.
Yeah, definitely.
That's good.
Yeah, very shortly.
Really good.
In fact, jumping on the Witcher train was a great idea.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through now, and man, even like your New Vegas list and stuff is just below that at 79k.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
yeah. It blows my mind going with the the trending topics, at least that kind of fall into the like gaming RPG type things that I do. Anyway, in that top 10 plus tips and stuff and things that I covered, I mentioned consequences of the game, and something that players should be familiar with when they're going in. You see that in the Witcher 3 show, if you've watched it on Netflix. It's probably in the books too, but everybody has their motivations, everybody has their own things going on, and it's not always, it's almost never black and white in the Witcher 3. And these are all these micro consequences. I guess that's what I kind of want to call them, because they're not tied really to anything else, but there is a result a lot of the time, unless you're talking about main quest stuff, because there's multiple endings to the game. So, for example, in No Man's Land, which is the battleground between the North and the South, it's got refugees everywhere, it's got bodies everywhere, it's dead soldiers battlefield, necrophages eating the dead, like it's just a mess. But you see this one dude tied up, like screaming for help next to the water. And if you've played The Witcher 3, you'll know that drowners like to hang out near the water.
Yeah.
And if there's humans nearby, they like to kill and eat said humans.
No.
But he was left there to die for some reason. And so you start dialogue with him, and you're like, hey, what happened? And he goes, these crazy dudes just tied me up, and now I'm stuck here, and the drowners are gonna like devour me, and if I don't get free. And so you end up with a choice. Like, you can say something along the lines of, well, there's a reason you're tied up here, probably, and just leave him to his fate. Or you can do the good option and be like, hey, okay, I'll free you, and then we'll see what happens, I guess. And he's like, I won't forget this, kind of thing, as he runs away. And then multiple chapters in, you can run into this guy again, but he has a band of bandits, and he's been raiding like refugees and supply caravans. And when you stumble upon his camp, you see just a peasant skewered on a pike. They have a lot of different ways to eviscerate people in that game. It's impressive on its own. But then you feel the weight of that decision that you made in the past. You caused the deaths of all of these people because you let him go, and also let him gather strength and start, robbing people. And which could have been the reason he was there in the first place. So those kinds of consequences have a very, I want to say, more of a real component to them that CD Projekt Red like nails very well, as opposed to a lot of other, because there's like main ones too. Like we talked about the Bloody Baron quest line a couple of times on the podcast too, and that's a part of the main story.
Yeah.
You run into a lot of dilemmas because the Baron, not a good person. His men are not good people. His wife and daughter, who were missing, find out there's a reason, are also probably not good people.
Like everyone in the game, they're not good people.
Are in league with not good people, I should say. Because I think Anna was the one that was like okay, but even she got like bewitched by the crones and turned into a mind slave. So it was just a mess. It's just none of these people are in a good position, except maybe the daughter. She's in the protection of Novigrad by the witch hunters, and is becoming one herself, I think. But anyway, I think that consequences like that definitely add more to the world on the short term, but there needs to be like that big payoff towards the end too, like making decisions for like who's going to be alongside you, the main character, at the end of the game too.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's pretty much all I had, I think.
That's right. Well, as well as The Witcher 3, you mentioned you've been playing Iceborne.
Yes. So I played the crap out of The Witcher 3. I already described quite a bit of it already. Decided not to do more videos on it yet because there's guides out there that I don't think I could do better, and that's usually my motivation for doing guides for things. But Monster Hunter World Iceborne came out on PC, and it was not without its issues.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, it had mixed reviews on Steam when it came out, and that's primarily because Denuvo, or their anti-piracy something type thing, is burning people's CPUs.
Ooh.
I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's running their CPUs really hot, and there's no reason for it. And the initial release of Monster Hunter World on PC also did that. So this is something that was already a problem, but it's a problem again somehow. Yeah. So I didn't have too much issue with it because thankfully, because of my job, I get to spend the money that I make doing this improving the means I can do this. Yep. So that means I have a pretty decent gaming rig too. But other people were having really bad issues, and that's only part of it, which sucks. There's the hardware side, and then there's the multiplayer side. Monster Hunter World is way more fun in multiplayer. Way more fun. It's by design supposed to be like 4 people taking down a monster, and it is a blast, especially when you can do it with friends. Unfortunately, the first week I was playing it with, or trying to play it with Kite and Nelsar, once 3 of us were in a game, somebody would get disconnected. Like in the middle of a hunt. And at that point, they can't reconnect. Or like everybody, or 2 people get dropped, and now you're all fighting a 3-man monster because they scale, but they don't scale back down. So the only option there is to drop out of the mission. Or try to do it yourself, but you know, that and as a whole is kind of a waste of time taking on a monster that's supposed to take 20 minutes, you know, taking 40 and not playing with your friends even longer. Yeah. Despite that, there was a patch that went out recently that did address some of the issues, but other people are still having issues with the game. So thankfully Capcom is trying to be vigilant on getting the patch out as soon as possible. But a lot of people in the community also say something along the lines of they don't really have an excuse at this point, like this already happened. And that part I agree with too. But I have had less issues with teaming up with friends lately. So when it works, it's incredibly fun. But when it doesn't, it is insanely frustrating to the point of making you want to stop playing and do literally anything else. So if you are interested, I would say try Monster Hunter World by itself first if you haven't played it already. If you like hardcore boss slaying games, try it. It's really cheap right now, just Monster Hunter World by itself. You can go on like any like Fanatical or Humble Bundle or something like that and get it like 70% off, because Iceborne is close to what, $40 I think, something like that. It works kind of like War of the Chosen for XCOM 2. It's like the it's not just a DLC, it's more of a director's cut type thing, where it adds more to the game, and all of those mechanics are kind of like retroactive, so like you can go back and do like older missions too much faster. All right. If you feel like it. But yeah, that's mainly what I've been playing, and you will see the highlights. I should plug that too. The Caedo's Casualties 29. It's 20 minutes of shenanigans with me and Nelsar mainly, and sometimes Kite.
Kite's voice just coming from a distance.
You should. It was a couple of times actually. Yeah.
I watched it yesterday.
Oh. Yeah. What'd you think?
It was good. I enjoyed it.
It's good.
It was,
did you giggle?
I chuckled mildly to myself. Allowed myself a slight Ha! From time to time.
Gotcha. That's what I've been doing. What have you been doing, Sarge?
Well, I played quite a bit of Fallout 3.
Whoa!
Yeah. Because, much to my shame, up until about a week or so ago,
Sarge feels shame.
there was a Fallout 3 DLC that I had never played. I
Did
was
you ever
waiting
tell
for
me
a
which
gasp.
one?
Point Lookout. There we go. There's
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Point Lookout. I had
The forgettable
never
one.
played. What? I loved it. I played it for the first time, and I loved it. Like, whilst I was on break, I actually played Point Lookout, Operation Anchorage, and Mothership Zeta. And Mothership Zeta and Operation Anchorage wasn't that big a fan of. I do believe I've played them both before, but it was like when I very first kind of played Fallout 3, so several years back now. But yeah, no, Point Lookout I really enjoyed. I'm using like a couple of the guns on that on the character build that's coming out on Saturday, most likely. So yeah, I really enjoyed Point Lookout. I had a lot of fun with it. I like the fact that a lot of the enemies are really tough as well. It was cool actually having to struggle with a few fights, especially seeing as my character's pretty badass. So it was nice having them kind of be tough. And the whole exploration thing and the fact it doesn't so much throw you into a single mission and then just have some side missions. No, it's more like, hey, here's the island. There's someone missing, but you don't have to find her. And it was cool. I loved it. I had lots of fun with it.
That's good.
If anything, it made me dislike Mothership Zeta and Operation Anchorage more, because I found both of those a bit boring and linear.
Because of how insanely linear they are, yeah.
Yeah, especially after Point Lookout, it's just like, you can go anywhere right from the start. We are fine with that. I love that in the DLC.
I think it's, like, Operation Anchorage and Mothership Zeta were, like, too linear, and I found Point Lookout to be too open-ended. Like, I couldn't get invested in what like was actually happening with like the tribals and the punga fruit and all that nonsense. Whereas the pit, and I hope you agree with this one, it had the open areas that you could explore for as long as you want, but it still had the urgency of the story that was happening that you were directly involved in. Yeah, like there were actual stakes. And
the pit is great. I think overall it's probably my favourite out of the DLCs, but I will say I really like Desmond from Point Lookout.
Yes.
Big fan of him. As well, something I quite enjoyed is when I was going through Point Lookout, I made sure not to look at any guides or any extra stuff before I reached the very end. And then I reached the very end, and just before I left like the final location, I decided with Desmond throughout all of it, I was like, I'm going to stick with him because he keeps insulting me and swearing at me, but he learned me a skill, so that's the guy I want to be with. Just before the end, I was like, I kind of like his outfit and stuff, and I want to see if it's unique, but I don't want to like kill him if he's going to survive. Beyond that, I checked him a little wiki thing, and it's just like, oh yeah, Desmond disappears after this, so I was like, cool, I'm just going to murder him and then leave. So now I've got his glasses, which are pretty great. Yeah. Yeah, I really love that though. I was very happy. I basically played it optimally just by going through my own decisions as well, which I was very happy with. So, had a lot of fun with that.
My favorite moment was when his house exploded.
Oh, but the dogs die.
But the house...
You monster, Caedo!
If there's something involving explosions, I don't care what the collateral is, man. And it blasts you back. My favorite That's moment, the only time that happens in the game.
It is really cool. Well, you say that. You clearly didn't watch the little video I put up on Twitter where I was digging for treasure and I just get blasted back for no reason. It's perfect. I think
I did see that.
Yeah, I activate the treasure map and it just goes, whoom, I fly off to the side.
I don't know what happened there, but it was kind of great.
It was. But as well as Fallout 3, I've been playing a bit of Borderlands 3, like I mentioned earlier, just boss farming and getting some characters ready, because I've got I need to make like a flat build and a Mo's build at some point, because I've done Amara and Zane already. And just the other day, a new block of cards in Magic the Gathering Arena was released, the Theros block, so I've been playing some Arena, building some new decks, having some fun with that. Although, the problem is that the game keeps disconnecting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like Monster Hunter World?
Kinda, yeah. It's just like, since the latest update, you'll be in a match, and it'll be like, do you want to log out or reconnect? And it'd be like, no, I'm in the middle of a match right now, I just want to continue playing, but you can't select to continue playing, so either log out and log back in, or try and reconnect, and then it just, like, doesn't reconnect, and you have to I literally, Control-Alt-Delete, ended the entire thing, booted it back up, and I came back into the same match. It had played my cards for me, in a way I didn't want it to play. It skipped my turn to the next person, their turn skipped, and then when it came back to me, it insta-conceded me. I was just like, what's going on here? This is not right. It was very frustrating, so they need a hotfix for it. But the Ferris cards look really cool, and there's a bunch of strategies I'm wanting to try out, but with the game being quite so unstable right now, yeah, I might not be able to try them, which is a shame.
It's nice that some of the games we play work.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest...
Silver lining.
But there's 2 games I've played over break which have been stable, and it's been Borderlands 3 and Fallout 76. And the fact Fallout 76 was, like, the second most stable game I played during my break.
That's weird to hear, Sarge.
Yeah. Well, Fallout 3 kept crashing on me. Magic the Gathering Arena kept crashing on me. I played a tiny bit
of... Was 3 modded at all?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. But, well... There were a few crashes here and there, plus you can't, like, tab out of it without the game going crazy.
Yeah, I got the borderless window
it doesn't
mod
matter
as soon
for me.
as possible for that one.
Oh, a mod, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it crashed a few times for me. I do save regularly just in case, so it was never anything too bad, but it was just annoying from time to time. Yeah. Of course, sadly, I've forgotten what I was about to say, so over to you, Caedo.
Alright, well... we would like to know what kind of games you were playing, and also if you had something to share about the Fallout topic, or share about the news topics that we're talking about, or even suggest news topics or Fallout topics we can talk about in future episodes, please do in the comments. And that about does it for us. You'll catch us again in a couple of weeks with another PIPCAST 3000. And this has been episode 27. Thank you for making it to the end, and thank you for hanging out with us. I'm Caedo Genesis.
I'm BADCompanySarge.
And you all take care of yourselves.